Well, we just celebrated Labor Day, and one of the things that happens recently is during a holiday is to check the wait times when it comes to Disney World and Universal Studios to see what they look like. Because oftentimes, at least historically speaking, holidays are some of the busiest times in theme parks. And when they're not busy during a holiday, sometimes that can be a red flag. People raise an eyebrow and think, what's going on with the parks? So it seems that's happened again with Labor Day, as the crowds seemed very, very light. But to be fair, there could be a pretty good explanation for that. So we're going to get an article here from Blog Mickey that talks about this and give some thoughts on it. So, hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And again, the article here from Blog Mickey, and the headline is Walt Disney World's least crowded holiday retains title. It says we're on the pumpkin spice side of Labor Day, and some people seem surprised at how low crowds were during the 3-day weekend. In this article, we'll take a look at holiday wait time trends for Walt Disney World, including a look at Disney World's least crowded holiday. It says, spoiler, it's the one we're talking about right now, which is Labor Day. So average wait times by holiday at Disney World. So according to data compiled by app scraping database Thrill Data, Labor Day is the least crowded holiday of the year at Walt Disney World. This shouldn't be surprising to the average observer. Children are back in school, vacation days are being saved for the Christmas season, and many families have already visited at some point during the summer. Zooming out a bit, September has the lowest average posted wait times of any month of the year. So that should speak to the visitation trends more than whether or not an early September holiday is popular or not. So they got a list of here, but the most to the least. So Christmas obviously is some of the busiest, highest wait times, 56 minutes. 4th of July actually, surprisingly enough, is one of the lower ones. And it says you get the point. Basically, the busiest holidays are New Year's, Christmas, and Thanksgiving. That isn't groundbreaking news or data. But the most relevant part of the data for this article is that Labor Day stands alone as having the lowest average wait time of any major holiday. Labor Day has an average posted wait time of just 25 minutes across all Walt Disney World attractions, which is definitely that's the lowest for sure. For Labor Day 2024, Walt Disney World had an average posted wait time of 21 minutes, placing it in sort of the middle of the pack of the last 10 Labor Days at the resort. It's still obviously it's one of the lower ones as of recently. But to be fair, and one thing I just want to point, I do criticize Disney, and I will criticize things that I see fit. So at times like this, while it could be easy to jump on this and be like, oh, look at the wait times for Labor Day. Obviously, we take a look at the trends here. Like, it's kind of in the middle of it recently. It also was rainy over Labor Day weekend. So a lot of the wait times you were seeing, people, when it rains or it really rains hard at Disney, a lot of times people don't go into the parks and things like that. So while it's not nothing necessarily, like obviously a lower than usual Labor Day when in terms of like wait times and crowds is not something that's good. It is an indication somewhat of demand, given that like if this was the still least crowded holiday, but it was number one in Labor Day of the last 10, that would be basically like, well, okay, that's looking better because typically this is lower. So it being even lower, it is something. I know Blog Mickey here is going to angle this as it means nothing. I don't think it means nothing, but I also, at the same time, I did see some posts that basically like, anytime the holiday that the crowds are empty and things like that. Obviously, usually, historically speaking, holidays are very busy in theme parks. Universal is around the same thing as well. Again, the rain, so a lot of the wait times were a little bit lower. I don't think they were as low as Disney on average, it seemed like, but they were still low. Now, I will say we get closer to the Christmas time and these wait times are still staying this low, or the demand for it is much less than it has been in recent years past. I think that is starting to give a little bit of an indication of a red flag of something is for sure going on. But I think what will be more telling, at least to me, is what do these trends look like next year when you have Epic Universe finally open, the next couple of years. That'll be a really big indication. And I think if, say, next year after Epic Universe is open, if the Labor Day is one of the lowest ones we've ever seen for Disney, then I think there would be a pretty good correlation there of like, okay, and let's say Universal's is very high and people are going to Epic Universe, I think then that's a pretty, obviously you have a direct indication there of like, okay, something big here is going on. You have one park have more people versus another park, but given they were both kind of low, it's kind of really hard to point one way or the other. All the points I've made about Disney still stand, but at the same time, I don't think that this was necessarily the indication that a lot of people thought it was. But it does go to show you that the wait times being low, this is because during holidays, annual pass holders are typically blocked out, at least most levels. So ideally, Disney does this because they're anticipating they don't need the annual pass holders in the parks because enough, single guest or one-day ticket people are coming in for their trips. So when that doesn't happen, you have a low amount of those people in there, the wait times are really low because you also don't have annual pass holders. So that typically has been what's going on lately when you see these low wait times when it comes to holidays, is a lot of people are blocked out. I do think it shows that there aren't as many people coming in from basic that are not locals. You're not seeing the widespread travel to the parks that you have in recent years. So I do think there's an indication on that front of it. But the reason being of a lot of the low wait times when you don't have that crowd coming in is because most pass holders are blocked out. But so while I don't think it's this giant red flag and oh man, we need to make a big, huge deal about this, but at the same time, I don't think it's nothing. I do think there is an indication of a lowering amount of demand for sure, which to their defense, Disney has admitted. But again, I think the more interesting comparison of this will be in the coming years once Epic Universe is open and we get to really see what that looks like. How does the Labor Day look with Epic Universe open for them versus what it looks like for Disney? And if there becomes a big discrepancy there, then I definitely think there are tons of red flags to talk about. I think you're going to have Disney, while they won't admit that, they would be freaking out trying to get people into the parks more. I don't think there's too much to say about when it comes to Labor Day. Now, Christmas time, if the crowds are staying low and we're seeing that's going to be an indication of definitely softening demand, and really curious how that plays out. But one thing around here is I will always give my honest opinion. I'll call balls and strikes, and I'll try to be fair and really, I'm not going to call something out if I really don't think it's something there. And that's how I feel about this. As easy as it would be to probably go on here and say how big of a deal this is, just looking at the data it's the middle of the pack, the last few, it's the lowest attended when it comes to holidays. I don't think this is anything to really make a huge deal about. Although, again, it's not nothing, but it is something. So it's in the middle there of just keeping an eye on it. See how this looks closer to Christmas time. That'll be very interesting. But that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we do lots of coverage here of Disney World, Universal Studios, Epic Universe, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments what you think about this. And until next time, we will see you in the parks.